Welcome back, friends. Now that we have completed the shopping cart activity, it's a good time for us to take a closer look at the star operator that we have used for the multiplication and also discuss why the list price cannot be made out of strings. Remember, the list price contains the price of all these items that we are selling, and we discussed that this has to be numbers, and to be more, let's say, detailed, these have to be floating point numbers, which means these numbers have decimal places. Now we will see why if we did a string here, that's going to cause a problem for us. But for that purpose, we're going to have to take a look at the star operator a little bit more closely. Now recall that we had used the star operator to compute, for example, we had used the star operator, to compute the price of each of these items. So basically we did shopping quant times unit price and we got this. So for example, if I did, let's say 2 times 99.99, I get say 199.98, which in this case is the price to say milkshake. Now, as we notice here, when we are using the star operator here, or say in the code here, basically star is doing a multiplication, which is what we want to do. So for instance, if I did, let's say 20 times 3, I get 60. I did 20.5 times say 5, I get 102.5, because it is really doing a multiplication. So what I'm trying to get at is that if my operands, which if the if the two sides of the star are both numbers, be the integers, be the floating point, you will get a number in return, because you just multiply those two numbers and give you the outcome. However, I can actually use star in a different way, in which case, let's say I do a multiplication of a string with a number. So notice here now, my first operand is a string ABC, and second one is a number without a decimal place. In fact, that's an integer. So if I did this, what happens is something quite fascinating. It becomes ABC, ABC, ABC. In fact, it repeated this string 3 times. Now we can actually do this. Let's say we did, maybe I can take one more example, ABC, say for example DEF, and I say multiply by 5. It's going to repeat ABCDEF, ABCDEF, and so on 5 times. On the other hand, let's say if I did not give an integer, let's say I gave 5.0, that's going to give me an error, which makes sense because 5.0 I can still argue is like multiplying by 5 or repeat 5 times, but what about 5.1? It doesn't make sense for me to repeat 5.1 times. So that gives an error. And similarly, I will get an error. Let's say I multiplied, say, two strings, because again, that doesn't make sense. So the point is that we can use the star operator also when we have a single string and an integer, and the effect of that is that of basically repeating the string that many times. Now, having seen this usage, it brings me to my next point, which is why is it that my price was a series of floating point numbers? In fact, the answer is already given to you, because you know uh, the price is being multiplied at to compute the total price. So when I come to the shopping cart, I actually do the shopping quantity multiplied by a unit price. Now, unit price has to be a number. Shopping quantity is, of course, an integer. I want the result also to be a number. Like, for example, here. So I did 99.99 times 2, it was 199.88. But let's say I did, say, 2 times, say, 99.99. Now I'm going to end up in a string which does not make sense as a number. And hence, when I try to say, for example, round it and all that, I'm going to get into an error. So in short, if I had by mistake, let's say, made my price list as comprising of say strings, something like this, then I'm going to get into a lot of trouble when I do that multiplication, because I'm using the star operator, and that's going to cause me a lot of problem. Now, as you can notice, so which is why I use a floating point here. Now you can also take a draw comparison here. Remember the plus operator. So typically plus means to add. We have seen that we have used the plus operator, for example, to compute, let's say, the total price and so on and so forth. But if we are dealing with strings, if we give both sides of strings, then plus acts like join, apple, banana, or concatenation. A similar story with the star operator. So let's just wrap this up with a little bit of discussion on say the star operator. So like I said, it's a very interesting operator. Its effect depends on the operands, just like the plus operator, which was an addition for numbers, join, apple, banana for strings. Now in case of star, star is a multiplication when dealing with numbers. So if I have something, a number star some other number, it's going to multiply. But if I'm dealing with strings and integers, which means that if I have a string, star integer, it's going to repeat the string. But if I have string integer, string star some floating point or something like that, then that's going to give me an error. Or string star string is also going to give me an error. So for example, 2 times 3, 2 star 3 is 6 because both are numbers. But ABC star 3, because it's string times integer, it's going to be ABC, 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 which is another string. So as with the plus operator, the result depends on what kind of operands we are providing. Unlike Scratch, where there was only one, 2 times 3, and it was simple, it always used to multiply for us. So a little bit of difference here. I don't think this block exists, equivalent block exists, but clearly you can see the uses for this in certain circumstances. I hope this gave you a picture of what's going on. It's a good thing to understand, quite powerful, and also helps us to reflect back on our code that we have been doing. Uh, Take care. Thank you so much. Bye bye.